Tomorrow was supposed to be the day I married Hudson, but instead of final fittings or rehearsing vows, my world started glitching. Strange, translucent lines of text, scrolling bullet comments, only I could see. The comments called me the venomous second lead. They said Hudson was so desperate to escape our marriage that he'd literally turned into a dog. Even worse, they mentioned that in exactly 1 week, I'd be dead, having fallen from the roof of a skyscraper. I was still reeling, staring at the empty air, when my parents burst into my room. Their faces were pale, their expressions twisted with a mix of confusion and disgust. They told me Hudson was gone missing. In his place, they found a dog in his bedroom. They were holding it now. I looked down at the Samoyed in my father's arms. The dog looked back at me, its eyes narrowed in a look of pure, unadulterated loving. In that instant, it clicked. The comments were right. This wasn't just a pet. This was Hudson. Without a word, I lunged forward, snatched the dog from my father's startled grip, and bolted for the door. "Paige, where are you going?" My mother shrieked behind me. I didn't look back. I just threw my voice over my shoulder as I reached the driveway. "To the vet. This dog needs to be fixed." Immediately, the creature in my arms visibly recoiled, a pathetic whimper escaping its throat. Is she actually going to snip him? The villainess has finally lost it. How does she even have the nerve? Chill, she's just bluffing. She's obsessed with him. She'd never actually go through with it. Exactly. She's ride or die for Hudson. She'll probably end up pampering the dog because it belongs to his family. I glanced at the comments and let out a sharp, cold laugh. I slammed my foot onto the gas, the engine roaring in response. In the passenger seat, the Samoyed, Hudson, was a mess. He was terrified. Good poor Hudson. Look at him shaking. My heart is breaking for him. He's a mess, but honestly look at how cute he is when he's scared. Paige's heart has to be melting right now. Don't worry, he's the protagonist. He's got plot armor. Something will stop her. I kept one hand on the wheel, and reached over with the other to pat his head. Hudson snapped. He whipped his head around, baring his teeth at my hand in a snarl of pure aggression. He was ready to tear my skin off. I gave him a wicked, sideways grin. Go ahead, bite me. Give me a reason to just skip the surgery and go straight to euthanasia. His teeth chattered for a second, then he slowly pulled his lips back over them. He slumped into the seat, defeated. The moment Hudson saw the sign with the little blue cross, he went ballistic. He scrambled up, front paws scratching frantically against the glass of the passenger window. Whoa, he was howling for help, but tonight help wasn't coming. He tried the door handle with his paws, desperate and clumsy. I leaned in close to his ear, my voice a silky, cruel whisper. Don't fight it, babe. Think of it as a gift. I'm just being a responsible new owner. His mouth fell open, his eyes wide with a very human sense of despair. The screen in my head was a blur. Oh my God. Poor baby. But wait. Yes, a dog right now. Neutering a dog is like basic pet care. Shut up. That's the male lead. He's going to turn back eventually. Exactly. If she snips the dog, what happens to the man? How is he supposed to have his steamy nights with the true heroine later? Wait for it. The original story says the true heroine is his guardian angel. She always shows up when he's in trouble. A beauty saves the beast moment. I'm here for it. He'll fall so much harder for her after this. And the villainess will be one step closer to her rooftop exit. I stared at that last comment, a cold lump forming in my chest. Fine if I'm destined to fall off a building. I'm making sure your golden boy falls with me, starting with his dignity. Let's see how he enjoys his happily ever after without his favorite equipment. I hopped out of the car, hauled Hudson out by his collar, and marched into the clinic. The second we hit the lobby, I tried to set him down, but he turned into a thrashing blur of white fur and claws. Oh whoa, the agony in that voice. I'm literally crying. Where is the heroine? If she doesn't show up in 30 seconds, it's over. I had to pin him against my chest, shouting for a technician. Hudson didn't hesitate. He lunged for my wrist, his teeth sinking into my skin. I didn't flinch. I grabbed his head, forcing him to look me in the eye. My voice was a low, dangerous growl. Bite me one more time, and I'll tell the surgeon to take an extra 2 inches off. He froze. His jaws went slack. The extra 2 inches comment. I'm dying. I feel bad, but that's hilarious. It is not funny. The girl at the front desk, a teenager with a messy ponytail, didn't even look up from her computer. Sorry, we're closing. Come back tomorrow at 8. I need an emergency neuter. Now, she sighed, finally looking up. Look, it's 10 p.m. The doctor is literally walking out the. I'll pay extra. How much extra? I pulled out my phone and scanned the QR code on her desk. Ping. Transaction successful. $15,000. The girl's jaw dropped so far I thought it might hit the linoleum. I gave her a sharp, predatory smile. $15,000 for a standard neuter. But I want it done now. Swiftly. I want him completely decommissioned. The girl practically vaulted over the counter. Ma'am, for 15 grand, I'll sharpen the scalpel myself. 1 second. Hudson looked like he was about to faint. The receptionist snatched him from my arms and sprinted toward the back, screaming at the top of her lungs. Dr. Miller, stop. Don't leave. We've got a $15,000 balzectomy. We're rich. The comments were stunned. She's for real. She dropped 15 grand just to spite him. Honestly? Iconic. The villainess is giving unhinged queen energy, and I'm kind of obsessed. Are you people crazy? Hudson is about to be castrated. My poor baby. Heroine, where are you? Your future happiness is on the line. Dr. Miller, who had been halfway out the back door, didn't hesitate for a single second. For $15,000, ethics and office hours were merely suggestions. Within minutes, he was back in his scrubs, snapping on latex gloves. Jenny prepped the anesthesia and the tray. As Hudson was hoisted onto the cold stainless steel of the operating table, his eyes were fixed on me. They were full of disbelief. He probably never thought I, Paige, would do this. In his mind, my devotion was supposed to be hard-coded into my DNA. That's why he'd let his family bring him to me after he transformed. He hated our arranged marriage, hated that I was forced upon him, but he knew I loved him more than life itself. He figured he'd hide out as a pet, let me wait on him hand and foot, and watch me crumble in grief over his disappearance. He wanted a front row seat to my misery. Instead, he got a front row seat to his own surgery. The receptionist, Jenny, was moving with lightning speed, laying out the tools. Forceps, scalpels, sutures, antiseptic. The sight of the blade triggered a primal fear in Hudson. He tried to bolt, his paws slipping on the steel table. He let out a piercing, soul-shattering howl. Jenny pinned him down with practiced ease. Then Dr. Miller stepped forward with a sedative. Hudson's eyes stayed locked on mine, wide with betrayal, until the drug took hold and his head finally slumped over. Just as the doctor raised the scalpel, stop, the front door slammed open with a violent crash. She's here. The queen is here. Hudson is saved. I knew she wouldn't let him down. I turned around, my eyes narrowing. It was my sister, Daisy. The true daughter who had been brought back to our family only 6 months ago. The comments went into a frenzy. The heroine has arrived. I knew the universe wouldn't let him be snipped. Daisy is the one Hudson is destined for. Paige is just a stepping stone. Daisy was panting, sweat beading on her forehead. She must have sprinted from the house. Her eyes bypassed me entirely, landing on the limp white dog on the table. Her eyes welled with tears instantly. Paige, stop. You can't do this. Daisy's heart is breaking. That's her future husband's legacy on that table. Move, Paige. Get out of the way. When I didn't move, Daisy rushed over and grabbed my arm. Her grip surprisingly strong. Paige, this is Hudson's dog. Hudson is missing. If he comes back and finds out you mutilated his favorite pet, how are you going to explain yourself? He'll never forgive you. I looked at Daisy's tear-streaked face and felt a wave of cold amusement. My true daughter's sister. Since she'd arrived, she'd taken everything. My room, my jewelry, my place in the company. I just hadn't realized she was planning on taking my fiancé, too, even in dog form. I shook her hand off. Doctor, proceed. Dr. Miller looked between us, sweating. Look, if this is a family dispute, do it. I snapped. I'll double the fee. No. Daisy shrieked, throwing herself over the dog's body like a shield. This is animal cruelty. I'll call the police. I let out a dry, jagged laugh. Daisy, this is my fiancé's dog. Making a medical decision for a pet isn't a crime. It's called being a responsible owner. Daisy glared at me, her voice trembling. You're only doing this because he left you at the altar. You're taking your petty anger out on a helpless animal. Daisy's right. Paige is just a bitter, rejected woman. With Daisy there, the villainess won't touch a hair on his head. I stepped closer to Daisy, looming over her. Hudson humiliated our family. He made me a laughingstock. And you're telling me I can't even touch his dog? I leaned in, my voice a whisper. Or is it that you know exactly who this dog is? Daisy's pupils shrunk. She flinched. Did she catch on? No way. In the original book, she never finds out until the very end. I straightened up, watching the guilt flash across her face. The comments were right. My sweet little sister knew everything. Doctor, I said, my voice flat. Continue. No. Please. Daisy started sobbing, grabbing my hand. Paige, I'm begging you. Don't do it. Please? He's Hudson's. He's so special to him. She bit her lip, clearly dying to tell me the truth but bound by the rules of the story. Ugh, my heart. Daisy is literally begging for his life. Paige is a monster. Look at her crying. I looked at Daisy's miserable face and gave a slow, wicked nod. Fine. Daisy's eyes lit up. Really? I smiled. We don't have to neuter him. Let's just change the procedure. What procedure? Daisy asked, her voice cautious. I turned to Dr. Miller. Doctor, do you perform vocal cord clips? I'm tired of hearing this dog howl. I want him silent. The feed exploded. Paige, you are the devil. A mute dog? That's even worse than being a eunuch. Daisy, do something. Your man is about to get his throat slit. Daisy turned white. I watched her face, feeling a sick sense of satisfaction. Hudson, Daisy. You thought you could hide behind a curse to avoid me? Think again. I'll break you both. Dr. Miller swallowed hard, his hand shaking as he held the scalpel. He'd clearly never dealt with a client this unhinged. Daisy dropped to her knees, clutching the hem of my coat. Paige, I'm begging you, just let him go, please. Kneeling for her man, I'm sobbing. Paige, that's enough. She's on the floor. I looked down at her, and suddenly a new idea struck me. A truly evil, wonderful idea. I pulled out my phone. Without breaking eye contact with Daisy, I tapped a few buttons. Ping. Daisy's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, looking confused. Transaction received, $200,000. Wait, what? Daisy stared at the screen in horror. Transfer received, $200,000. Her fingers trembled around the phone. What is this? I smiled sweetly. A deal. The room went dead silent except for Hudson's shallow, drugged breathing. I crouched in front of Daisy, tilting my head. You clearly care about this dog very much. Enough to kneel for him. Enough to cry for him. I tapped her phone screen lightly. So buy him. Daisy's face drained of blood. What? You heard me. I stood and folded my arms. Take him. Right now. Leave with him, disappear, do whatever you want. I paused deliberately. In exchange, you and Hudson never appear in front of me again. The comments exploded. Wait, what? She's letting him go. No way, the villainess is actually backing down. Something feels wrong. Daisy looked up at me suspiciously. You're giving him to me? I laughed softly. Giving? No. I'm paying you severance. Her expression cracked. And for the first time since these damned comments appeared, I saw something beneath Daisy's saintly heroine act. Fear. Real fear. Because she knew. She knew this story was changing. The original Paige would have clawed at Hudson until the bitter end. She would have ruined herself chasing him. She would have died for him. But I wasn't doing that. I was cutting the thread entirely. And suddenly, the future wasn't following the script anymore. The bullet comments started flickering erratically. Wait. The plot divergence is climbing. Why are the comments lagging? Guys? In the original story, Paige never lets Hudson go. Something's wrong with the route progression. Daisy's lips parted slightly as she stared at the floating confusion. I could still somehow see reflected in her eyes. Interesting. She could see them too. Not all of them. Maybe only fragments. But enough. I leaned closer and whispered. You can read them, can't you? Daisy froze. Bingo. Dr. Miller looked between us like he regretted every life decision that led him to veterinary medicine. Ladies, he said weakly, I really just need to know whether I'm removing the testicles or not. Not. Daisy screamed. Not yet, I corrected calmly. Hudson whimpered weakly on the table. I walked over and gently stroked the fluffy idiot's head. This time he didn't dare bite me. His pupils were huge with fear. Ah, I murmured. Look at you. Suddenly obedient. His ears flattened. The comments lost their minds again. Why is this kinda hot? Girl, seek therapy immediately. Hudson blinked twice if you need help. I bent down until my lips brushed his ear. You want to know the funniest part? I whispered softly. I was actually devastated when you disappeared. His body stiffened. I thought maybe you got kidnapped. Hurt. Dead. My smile sharpened. But you turned into a dog to avoid marrying me. A shudder ran through him. So now, I whispered. Now I think this is hilarious. His eyes actually looked wet. For one dangerous second, guilt twisted in my chest. Then another comment floated by. 1 week until Paige dies. The coldness returned instantly. I straightened. Daisy, take him. Daisy hurried to the table, like she was rescuing a dying prince. The moment she touched Hudson, he practically crawled into her arms. The comments melted. He chose her. Soulmates. The heroine and male lead finally reunited. I watched them expressionlessly. Then I spoke. By the way, Daisy. She looked back cautiously. If Hudson turns back into a human, tell him this. My smile turned razor thin. The wedding gifts have already been prepared. A strange silence fell over the room. Even the comments paused. Daisy frowned. What does that mean? I pulled my phone out and opened a document. Then I turned the screen toward her. It was a list. A very, very long list. Hudson Hale's assets. Properties. Shell companies. Offshore accounts. Hidden investments. Private dealings. And at the very bottom, evidence of corporate fraud. Money laundering. Bribery. Daisy's face went white. Hudson started struggling violently in her arms. Even drugged, he knew exactly what he was looking at. You, Daisy whispered. I smiled lazily. You think I spent 3 years obsessing over Hudson without learning where all the bodies are buried? The comments detonated. Holy shit. Wait, she knew all this? The villainess was the one helping build his empire in the background. In the original novel, none of this gets exposed because Paige dies first. Oh my God. Oh my God. I looked at Hudson. His terrified eyes were locked onto mine. And finally, I saw it. Not hatred. Not disgust. Fear. Real fear. I crouched in front of him one last time. You wanted freedom so badly, Hudson? I said softly. Fine. I reached up and scratched under his chin. I'll set you free forever. Then I stood, turned around, and walked toward the exit. Behind me, Daisy called shakily. Paige. Where are you going? I stopped at the doorway without looking back. To survive. The comments flickered violently. Plot error detected. Future trajectory altered. Death flag instability rising. Warning. 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 Then every floating line of text in front of me shattered like broken glass. And somewhere far above the city, something screamed.